What is going on, everybody? Hope everybody's having an amazing day. Super rainy in the Shy right now. Obviously, we got a lot to talk about, but I want to start off with just saying thanks to one of the biggest dogs in the entire room, Mike Powers, doing his thing. Make sure you give us a like, give us a follow if you haven't already. Germ Edwards, Mike Powers, Dwayne Marcus, the entire crew. Amazing shows all week long. Had to break that down because everybody's making amazing content right now on the network. This is the Shy Kid Podcast, brought to you by iHeartRadio's very own Give Us a Shot Network. So make sure you give us a like, give us a follow if you haven't already before this podcast gets started. Let's get into it though, man. Today I'm here with the man, the myth, the legend himself, probably the greatest first name I've ever heard in my entire life. Brody McCullough. How are you feeling, baby?
Good, man. Appreciate you having me on. Glad to be
Man,
here.
how's North Carolina right now, man? Chicago's a little rainy. I know we talked a little bit about it off stage, but what's the week looking like?
Man, it's been good. It's the weather's been perfect since I've been home. Can't complain. But yeah, it's a little rainy today. But it's
For
starting to
sure.
switch that season into wintertime. So
For sure, for sure. Now, really quick, for people who don't know, and I'm one of those people, winters in Chicago. I mean, bro, if you don't know what it's like in 5-degree weather, -20-degree wind chills, you walking backwards to school at the age of like 9. Take me through what it's like growing up in North Carolina. Winters in North Carolina, and just specifically how you stay involved throughout an entire year playing baseball.
I can't relate to the -5 degrees and all that wind chill and all that kind of stuff. It's cold, plenty cold enough in the wintertime. But no, I can't relate to all that. But yeah, man, just as far as baseball goes, like I got a nice indoor facility that I work out at about 30 minutes away from the house that I've been fortunate enough to find, and they've been really good to me. So I got a place I can lift and throw inside and all that stuff. So I'm spoiled these days. I don't even have to worry about going outside and throwing and all that kind of stuff I used to have to do in high school and college. So
For
I'm very
sure, for
fortunate.
sure. For sure. Now, kind of breaking down you, man, growing up Lexington, North Carolina, first I want to ask you, J. Cole or Kendrick Lamar? I think that's one of the more important questions I'll ask you today.
I'll have to go J. Cole now.
Gotta go J. Cole,
Yeah.
North Carolina boy. But in all seriousness, man, the sports culture is huge in Carolina, and I think a lot of people don't recognize that unless you've really been there before. Obviously, the Buzzers buzz. You got some Hornets fans here and there, but the Tar Heels are really everything, and we're kind of familiar with a couple legendary Tar Heels. There's the Kobe Whites and some guy named Michael Jordan once upon a time. But for you, man, how invested were you into sports growing up? Was it just baseball? Were you a multi-sport athlete? And what kind of athletes really caught your eye as a kid?
Yeah, man, I'm extremely involved in it. I'm a huge Tar Heels fan, especially basketball. I don't miss a game, so everybody knows that when Tar Heels are playing, I'm in front of the TV catching the game. They play at 12:30 this Friday night, and I'll still be there watching it, so I ain't gonna miss a minute. But yeah, man, I'm super involved in it. Like I said, the Tar Heels and my team growing up, but it wasn't just basketball. I was playing soccer. I was playing basketball as well as along with baseball. I was always playing baseball a little bit more so than any other sport, just with the travel schedule and that kind of thing. I never really got involved in the basketball or the soccer like circuit, I guess, on the travel side of things. But yeah, I mean, I was playing basketball and soccer for the school from the time I was in the sixth grade, so I was always involved in that stuff. But yeah, baseball definitely kind of took over. But I really didn't focus on it like that, baseball specifically, until I was probably, I don't know, sophomore in high school. Probably I didn't really start taking it seriously till then. But yeah, I mean, I thought it was good for me just to be involved in multiple sports. And I tell kids nowadays, like, it's so specific to your sport now, and you start hammering that stuff out when you're, I don't know, I see guys, kids 10, 11 years old, they're already focused on one sport, and I feel like you miss out on a lot of stuff if you don't really participate in all that. And I'm not saying that if you don't play three sports, it's not the right thing to do, but if you can, I say you play as long as you can, because at some point that sport's going to tell you no. So
Mm-hmm.
like I said, those other two told me no at some point as well, and I've been fortunate enough to keep playing baseball. So
No, 100%. And I think that's kind of like the part right there where, you really break down what an athlete is. And I think you can kind of figure out very quickly like, hey, I'm kind of better at this than a lot of people, whether that's, playing basketball, football, baseball, whatever the case may be. But kind of like not an ignorant question, but like trying to like see where you were at as a kid. When was that moment where you were like, yeah, I'm better than everyone else? You know what I mean? Like I was talking to Caleb Knight about it, and we were kind of just breaking down like what age he was like, I think I could do this baseball thing for real. So like for you, was it kind of towards your sophomore year where you were kind of like, hey, I think like this can become something, or was it kind of at a younger age?
No, it definitely wasn't until I would say maybe even later in high school than that. I like baseball. I was a little bit burnt out with it, just with how much I had played growing up.
Mm.
I knew that if I was going to play at the next level collegiately, it would have to be baseball. I might have had a chance in basketball to play somewhere super small. I love basketball. I miss it to this day. I know it's not a good thing for me to be doing right now. But yeah, man, baseball was just kind of, I'd say probably my junior year. I started to get a little bit of interest from colleges, and they started reaching out. So I started taking a little bit more seriously. I knew it was on the pitching side. That's kind of when I was willing to put the bat down. Gladly put the bat down and just focus on
Could you
pitching.
hit though, Brody? Could you hit back in the
No, man,
day?
I ain't gonna lie. I didn't strike out, but I couldn't hit.
Okay, that's fair. That's fair. It was a ground ball guy. He puts the ball
Yeah.
in play. That's all that
Oh yeah.
matters. And you know what, man? I'm with you, man. I think, getting the cardio every single day of being a hooper is really important as well when you're a multi-sport athlete. We talk about guys doing track. We talk about guys playing lacrosse, whatever the case may be, just to kind of stay active during the off season. I will ask you if you could end up playing for the Charlotte Hornets at some point, because I had a parlay on LaMelo Ball last night. For whatever reason, Coach said LaMelo didn't have to play anymore, so he put him on the bench. So I don't know
Oh
what
yeah.
that was about. Darius Garland couldn't hit water if he fell off a boat last night. I had a lot of stuff going on, and I was very happy our pod was this morning, because if it was last night, I would be a total, I would be in a glass case of emotions. I'd be a wreck right now. But in all seriousness, man, kind of getting to the family side of things. First, my guy Jim Cross in Off the Bench has a segment of every single episode that I kind of brought over here. It's my favorite question. Best athlete of the family. Mom, dad, siblings, cousins. Brody, are you the best athlete of the family? Undoubtedly.
I don't want to sound arrogant, but I would have to say so. Yeah, I'm gonna have to say myself on that one. Both my parents could play ball. My sister played college volleyball, so we're a super athletic family. But I've been fortunate enough to keep playing this far, so I'm gonna have to say myself on that one.
All right. I'm with you. I'm with you. We got a couple guys who I feel like don't want to say it's them, and I'm like, I mean, if we're being like completely honest, like, yeah, but my dad played at at a D2 school. It was super cool. I'm like, you're in the show, brother. You know what I mean? Like, but there's levels to it. But man, you've had such an interesting career thus far, and kind of just going through what I could find at the high school level. It's one of those things where, guys just kind of, either stumble upon you or they don't, and that's really just the game. And it's really just what it comes down to. If that scout was willing to go the extra couple miles to come watch you in your game. So I was curious for you, man, before we talk about your collegiate career, at what point did you start hearing from schools? At what point were schools kind of trying to not just come approach you about coming to the university, but just kind of hearing your name mixed around in certain areas? Because I know you kind of stayed in your neighborhood.
hmm Yeah, I mean, I had a little bit of interest. I would say maybe my junior year. I played. So in North Carolina, they have a thing called the state games. I don't know if if it's as big of a deal in other states as it is in North Carolina. But state games is like if you can make this squad, the best of the best in your area play on. I think there's like 8 regions in North Carolina, and you should go try out for your region. And it's a weekend long tournament. The best of the best. Every scout who's anybody's there. And I was fortunate enough to make that team out of a small high school. Man, my high school it's a private high school. There's like 70 kids in the high school, man. The sports is not legit. It's not really like that. So it's tough to get any recognition out of there and anybody to really take you seriously because, I mean, I'm going to be honest, the sports just weren't all that. I wasn't facing the best competition. Obviously, I was facing it on the weekends when I would go play a travel tournament. But on Tuesdays and Thursdays, we weren't facing it like that. So it was super important for me to make that team. I was fortunate enough to do so. I go out. I think we were playing at UNCG, University of Greensboro, and I pitched really well that week and that weekend. I got multiple appearances. There was a lot of teams there, and that's really what sparked the interest, man. Like after that, the phone calls started coming in. It wasn't any kind of big, it wasn't UNC, it wasn't Duke, it wasn't schools like that.
Right.
But it kind of got the ball rolling a little bit for some of these smaller schools, these D2s, some smaller D1s. And I fielded all the calls, man. I wanted to talk to everybody. I wanted to see what they had to say. But yeah, if it came down to as far as recruiting goes, like I had a couple schools I was interested in that I went and visited. But UNC Greensboro was one of the last ones on my list. And obviously where I ended up going in Wingate was those were my final two schools. And I had a few buddies that went to Wingate. I really liked the coaching staff there. I went down there and visited. It felt like home. Felt like the right move for me to make. I mean, both those schools were kind of in my area, somewhat within an hour and a half or so. So that wasn't the end all be all, but that's just kind of the way it shook out with the schools that were interested and stuff like that. So I felt like that was home, man. So I made that call to go there, and it was honestly one of the best decisions I made.
For sure, for sure. No, and I definitely do think it is a valid reason. I know they always say, like, don't follow your friends. And that goes on a lot of levels. Whether we're talking about in sports and school or just in life. But sometimes that familiarity can kind of really just be the change of like your experience in certain places. Like, I think it's always very different. Like I went to a junior college, so it's like I didn't know anybody. All my friends were going out to Ohio State and all these different places, and I'm over here walking into Malcolm X like, damn, I don't know a single soul, and the guy sitting next to me is like 35 right now with 4 kids. Like this is so weird. Like it's a different kind of experience, man. But you go to Wingate. And there's not a lot of winning going on over there, but there's enough for you to be able to have a pretty successful season. Now, I do want to kind of break down your collegiate career as a whole, kind of things that really made you realize, hey, man, I think we could take this a step further. Who was somebody for you met at Wingate that really just helped you get to the next level?
And we had a lot of really good dudes when I was there. I think from the time I was a freshman to the time I graduated, or maybe even the year after, we've had like 7 or 8 dudes continue to play pro ball. So, I mean, just, the quality of dudes that were there, and we were pushing each other every single day. Obviously, when I first got there, it wasn't like the most winningest program, in the state or even, anything like that. It was a solid program, and I really liked the staff. I liked the guys that were there. But man, we built it into something that was really special. There was just a lot of good dudes, and hats off to the coaching staff for recruiting those guys. Found some gems that nobody else was really recruiting, and for us to have 7 or 8 guys continue to play professionally out of a D2 in such a short span, I think is a testament to them and a testament to all the hard work that the guys put in while they were there. But I got tight with Tommy McCullough. I don't know if you've heard of him or not. He's with the Phillies now. He was at Wingate while I was there as well. Hunter Dula is with the Giants. These are some dudes that I got close with while I was there, and we were really just able to push each other. And at some point or another, we each kind of realized for ourselves, hey, we still got a chance to keep playing. Yeah. So between those 2 guys, and obviously there's a few others that are still playing as well, and even some that aren't, that are really just super influential in my life, just helping me and pushing me to get to where I needed to go. But the coaching staff as well, man, they were awesome the whole time I was there. I had nothing but good things to say about them. So it was really just the team as a whole, and just the culture that was there. I think is hard to find in sports these days, especially with how the landscape's changing as far as guys moving around and stuff like that. So I think I was really fortunate to find a place to call home that treated me as well as they did.
Now, I do have a question that kind of revolves around that and the NIL stuff. One, obviously, do you wish you were just a few years later down the line for a potential NIL deal over there? But in all seriousness, man, like Paul Skeens, he's come on the show before, and we've kind of talked to him about how he had every opportunity to go to wherever he wanted to go. He could have joined Tennessee Volunteers. He could have joined, the Vanderbilt or wherever he wanted to go. He went to LSU for the culture. He wanted to be a part of that organization. He wanted to build his entire resume based off of the culture that they were creating. How important is that for you in today's game? And do you think we're kind of starting to see that kind of just get pushed to the side, and it's all about a financial gain now for these student athletes, and it's kind of becoming more about athletes than it really is a student?
Yeah, I mean, without a doubt, it's hard for me to speak on it because the game has changed so much in just a short amount of time that I've been out of school. Mm-hmm. People ask me nowadays, like, hey, would you have taken $100,000 to go to Wake Forest? You know what I mean? And left where you were at. I'd like to say no, but man, I mean, when you're in college not making any money, and pro ball wasn't even really on my radar at that point, maybe as a freshman or sophomore or something like that. So it's like, I mean, how could you really say no to something like that? I didn't have opportunities like that, like some of these guys are having now. I'm probably even making more than that.
Yeah.
But I would say, I mean, it would be hard for me to answer that. Just, I don't know. It'd be a hard thing to turn down. But at the same time, I really do. I'm a culture guy. I don't see myself having, being able to leave where I was at. I committed there to play there for 4 years, and that's what I set out to do. And, if I was going to go back and take a fifth year, I would have debated on maybe making a move at that point, but I committed for 4 years, and that's what I was going to play.
Yeah, for sure. 19 years old, man. I'm eating gummy bears and Gatorades. Like, that's all we really got going on. Taking the bus
Yeah.
every day. So, like, I definitely think there's a lot of guys, in a lot worse situations than I was in, and I think it really does come down to that at the end of the day. That's why we see, the Dabo Sweeneys of the world, kind of just like, it's not working out, or the Nick Saban saying, man, I'm out of here before this shit
Mm-hmm.
even starts going. Like, I can't even do this. So I do think it's really interesting when you talk about that, because obviously, Wingate isn't going to be one of those schools that I feel like is on everybody's radar. But if you know, you know what I mean? Like, there's
Yep.
a bunch of schools like that out there, collegiate organizations that really just try to make boys into men rather than just, hey, we're just here to win games. And I think that's really what the staple is for a lot of these places. I know University of Tennessee prides themselves on it. What they're able to do. Tony V and the boys. They've been able to not only win a national championship, but produce so much major league talent and so many guys who are finishing to get their degrees. It's pretty great to see stuff like that, man. But kind of breaking down getting into it, Chicago Cubs, man. I mean, hey, that's the call right there, 10th round. First of all, I want to talk about draft day. We always talk about the number one overall picks every single year, where they were, who they're with. Paul Skeens is with Livy Dunn doing his thing. Where were you on draft day? 10th round, obviously a lot more different. You might have a couple days to prepare of, who kind of is interested in you, who's giving these phone calls with your agent. Where were you? Who were you with? And what was that day like for you?
Yeah, so I played in Hyannis in Massachusetts on the Cape there that summer. So I played through like July 10th or something like that. I think the draft was on the 17th. So I was like, all right, I'm going to play up here for a few weeks, see what I can do, see if I can get myself into a better position for draft day. Obviously, like, I had a solid career at Wingate, but I understand too, it's not SEC competition. I'm trying to show off everything that I can do in front of the best, in front of the best talent. So I go up there and pitch pretty solid, and so I come back home, make a long drive back home, and on draft day, man, I was fielding some calls, earlier on in the week. So I didn't have an agent at the time. I have an agent now. I didn't have an agent on draft day, so I was having to take all these calls by myself, which is super nerve wracking because I never had to really deal with anything like that, and it's important. I'm trying to do as well for myself as I can on draft day, because I understand the landscape of it once the paycheck, what they look like once draft day is over with.
Mm.
So I'm trying to do as well for myself as I can, and just trying to negotiate that. It's tough for 22 years old, like never really had any experience negotiating anything at all.
Yeah.
Trying to sell myself a little bit, but trying not to get beat down too much by guys as well. So I'm taking all those calls a couple of days before. I had a feeling, I was going to say like probably 7th to 12th round, somewhere in there. That's kind of what I've been hearing. A lot of teams have told me fall to day 3, we'll be the first to get you on day 3. It's like, all right. And it wasn't about day 1, day 2, day 3 for me. It wasn't about anything like that. It was about, I felt like I knew what I was worth, and I was wanting to get that. I also had another year of eligibility at Wingate. That was that was not something I was really wanting to take at the time, but I wanted to keep that in the back of their mind, so I could just, I could do as best for myself as I could on that draft day. So, yeah, man, I got a couple calls on day 2, starting pretty early. It wasn't really what I was looking to get, and I understand, older guy, day 2 of the draft, trying to save a little bit of money early on, and obviously I'm super thankful that they would even, call to ask me that, but I decided to hold out and try to wait and for a little bit better offer, and the Cubs called me a couple times that day, and I don't even think I ever agreed to an actual number with them before I saw my name pop up on the TV. So I got drafted in the 10th round, picked 293, and I had no idea what I had just been signed for. Well, obviously I hadn't signed at that point, but what I'd been drafted for. Right. So I get a call about, obviously I'm celebrating with my family. I'm at my parents' house. It's my parents, my sister, and my wife now. We were all there. So we were celebrating, and about 2 minutes later, I get a call from the area scout, and he's like, congratulations, just been drafted by the Chicago Cubs. And I'm like, my first question is, hey man, what did I go for? You know what I mean? Like, I'd like to know. So anyways, he tells me that's exactly what I was wanting. And it's all good. But yeah, it's definitely crazy. It's the stories from guys on draft day. It's so much different than what everybody sees in the media on, guys sitting in Arlington this past year getting drafted on day one. It doesn't quite look like that for somebody in round 10, but the opportunity is all the same. So
Yeah, for sure. I mean, we know a lot of guys who, Caleb Knight talks about, I was what did he say, 40 something round pick? He's just like, yeah, I'm an undrafted guy, and it's like it's one of those things where everybody's journey is just so different. Um for you though, man, like can we gotta rewind a little bit? You're on the phone, kind of not making demands, but definitely letting it be known, like, hey, this is kind of where I'm at. Are you talking to the voice of the voice, or are you talking to the man? Are you talking to a Jed Hoyer kind of guy, when you're on these phone calls? Is this the general manager you're speaking to, or is this just like you said, kind of like, the local guy that's kind of around?
this is local guy, and obviously he's not making the calls. He's kind of a middleman on draft day, and telling them what I'm saying and all that kind of stuff. But as far as I know, especially with the Cubs, I know I did not talk to anybody in upper management. It was strictly the area scout here, and I'd actually never even met him before. Apparently, he saw me throw one time at Wingate. It was not the Cubs weren't a team that was like super after me, man. I had a kind of a list of teams I thought were really interested, and the Cubs weren't one of them.
Yeah, no, for sure.
So
I mean,
it's
that'd
crazy how that works out, but.
be kind of crazy thinking about a 21-year-old on a phone call with Jed Hoyer trying to negotiate a $90,000 deal or something. You know what I mean? Like, it's like, come on, Jed. Like, it's not very fair right there, man. He's got a whole
Yeah,
business degree and everything.
yeah.
But man, if you do feel comfortable talking about it, we kind of do talk about it all the time about teams that were interested, teams that did kind of give you that ring. Were there any teams that you were like, man, I really did think that team was probably going to take a chance on me?
There was a few teams like that. I mean, I talked to the Mariners quite a bit, and obviously I know what they can do on the pitching side of things. They're kind of leading the way in a lot of ways on pitching. So I was interested in them. Had a lot of good conversations with them. Let's see. I went to a Giants workout. I talked to them quite a bit. I know that their scout had been at a lot of my games. um, yeah, I mean, honestly, I was wanting to stay in Florida in the complex. I'm not gonna lie. That wasn't obviously something that ended up working out, and not even anything that was really at the top of my list on where I wanted to be. Just wanted to be the best fit. But if it could be Florida, that's kind of what I was hoping for. I talked to the Phillies a little bit, the Yankees a little bit, Yankees quite a bit actually. They were one of the ones I talked to a lot, even on draft day. But yeah, I mean, I turned down a few offers from teams that weren't even those teams on draft day. So it's crazy how it all shakes out.
Yeah, for sure.
You never really know who's gonna be that team. So
For sure, for sure. Now you're down with the full shaving if you had to do it to go to the Yanks. So would that have been a possibility? Because like me personally, man, it's not happening. It's not happening. My
yeah,
girl shaved.
I got a little bit right now, but at the time I probably didn't. I was probably pretty clean. So
Probably. I always talked to my girl about it. Like, yeah, I don't think I could be a firefighter. I don't think I could be on the New York Yankees. You have to shave. But no, man. In all seriousness, man, I'm happy it worked out the way it did. Seattle's definitely one of those teams where you kind of just, scratch your head a little bit because you know what they're able to do. But the Cubs have been able to put together such a great organization of product. We talked about, first of all, yeah, I'm gonna go off script for like 2 seconds because you guys, man, something about you young pitchers, I just don't understand it. Brandon Birdsell's telling me he's got a baby and a wife. Now we got my guy Brody telling me he's married as well. We have to rewind just a little bit.
yeah.
When did this happen? When did you meet her? How did this occur, and when did you get married?
Yeah, we met in high school actually. She went to a different high school, but in town. I had a mutual friend kind of introduced us, and we've pretty much been together ever since, man. We actually just got married last weekend, so we're in
Mm.
our first full week of marriage right now.
Now, 1 out of 10, first week. How's it going so far?
Well, we were sick all last week, so not too good.
Oh,
But man, it's been
what
good.
happened?
We've been
What
having a good
happened, bro? Man,
time.
no, man, that's awesome, bro. First of all, congratulations,
Thank you.
and yeah, it's not the last ring you're gonna get. I'll tell you that.
I
We're,
hope
we're,
so.
we're on the way. We're on the way. But no, I definitely kind of like just want to touch on that because I feel like all these young baseball players getting married so young, but it's like such a beautiful thing because I see you guys growing and I see you guys like having babies or getting a dog together, and I'm like, man, like they got this whole life outside of the diamond, which is so beautiful and kind of having that structure. But kind of talking about the system. We kind of talked about Brandon a couple minutes ago, and really just being able to see what he was able to do. Minor league pitcher of the year. Chase Watkins doing his thing on and off the field. The man's got beautiful hats. The man's got beautiful workout regimes. Make sure you check out his YouTube channel. And obviously the Cade Horton, Ben Browns of the world, man. So for you, you've been a part of this organization a few years now. One, what's it been like to pick the brain of your coworkers, and two, you got the Tommy Hodavies of the world. Obviously, so many other amazing pitching coaches throughout this league and in this system. What's it been like for you to kind of pick the brain of these guys over the last few years?
Yeah, man, it's been awesome just to talk to the guys, just the players and stuff like that, especially because everybody's got their own way of going about things, and it is so different. Obviously, everybody's got the same goal. We all want to be in Wrigley, but the means to get in there and the stories to get in there too. Like we were talking about earlier, like draft day stuff, like college stories and stuff like that. Like it's just been super interesting to talk to those guys and just see what their background is and see kind of what shaped them into the player and even the person that they are now. So it's cool. I've gotten close with Brandon. I talked to Brandon quite a bit. Connor, Nolan, Cade, we all keep up. So yeah, man, I'm talking to those guys all the time. Not as much about baseball probably as most people think. Probably more so about just life and everything else going on. But yeah, man, we definitely pick each other's brains about baseball quite a bit, definitely during the season. And I've been fortunate enough to play with some of those guys along the way, a couple stops here and there. Obviously, we're all moving around a little bit at times, but we've crossed paths quite a bit. So it's always cool to share a dugout with those guys and just kind of talk to them as games going on and get to know them a little bit.
No, for sure, for sure. And Connor, Connor's in his own mode right now, man. He's in golf mode, and I'm fully supporting it. He's been doing his thing. We were talking to him a couple weeks ago, and he was kind of breaking down, what we've been seeing, especially from a catching perspective over the last 2.5 years. Wilson Contreras leaves the Chicago Cubs, and I'm kind of looking over like, Miguel Amaya's coming off a huge injury, and he's like 19 years old at the time, and I'm like, man, the system's kind of like, we'll see what happens, but over the last few years, they've produced some amazing talent. You got the Pablos of the world, the Moises of the world, the Caleb Knights of the world, the hometown hero, the dog himself. But no, man, like they've really been able to put together great bodies of work, and I understand, that it's going to continue to get better as Jed would hope. So for you, man, what's it really been like to kind of be around a minor league system like this that's regarded as one of the better minor league systems in baseball?
Yeah, I mean, we're super talented, man. We really are. And I've been fortunate enough to play with some of these dudes that we're seeing in AAA now from the time I was in Myrtle Beach, and like Kevin Alcantara and even Bally a little bit. And Bally, man, he's improved so much. I got nothing but good things to say about him. He's starting to work. He's working really hard right now and getting himself to where he needs to be. I've seen him grow quite a bit, just maturing. Obviously, he's still super young. I mean, what is he, 20 years old now? I think I played with him when he was like 18, maybe 17. So to see his maturity from the time he went from Myrtle Beach to now in Iowa is special. And same with Kevin. Obviously, he got a few at bats last year, which is awesome to see. Yeah, man, those guys, they're extremely talented, and it's nice to have somebody like Kevin behind you playing in the field, and a lot of other guys as well. They're just they're vacuums back there. So, but yeah, I mean, it's been awesome. I got to shout out my catchers for sure. I've had definitely some really good ones along the way, Ethan and even Miguel Pabon. Who else, man? Pablo, Bally, and they've been awesome.
No,
Make my job easy, that's for sure.
Yeah, no, and Caleb kind of talked about Pablo a little bit, and he was kind of talking about how he just wants to be a sponge so bad, and he just wants to ask as many questions as possible, and he's trying to show you that he's listening, and he's letting you know, like, hey, I did this because of you. So to be able to see that is really incredible, and I know you guys have such a huge impact on them and how they go about their day-to-day. But, man, kind of just breaking down your career thus far, 2022, obviously, you have 5 games under your belt, 1.29 ERA. Now, obviously, we're looking at some rookie ball stuff there. 2023, you kind of get a bigger sample size. 21 games started, 3.44 ERA. The stuff is gross. The stuff's always been gross, and I feel like that's always been a big part of your game. Is I feel like you have that upper hand on other people, where a lot of guys are just throwing fastballs, and that's kind of just their game, especially at the minor league level that early. You've really been able to put things together the way you want to. So for you, man, how important kind of going back to college was Wingate for you, especially when you're going into the minor leagues, understanding that you have more of an arsenal than just a straight up fastball.
Yeah. I mean, I didn't have overpowering fastball stuff at an early age. I think a lot of these guys do and did. They were blessed to be able to throw 90 plus at 16 years old. I wasn't really like that. When I committed to wing it as a junior and even into my senior year of high school, man, I was topping at 88 miles an hour. Like I was sitting 84 to 87, like classic, D2 arm, and just see how we can progress. My freshman year there, I think I was topping at 89, maybe touching 90, and this is in college. So when you got that kind of stuff, I mean, it's that's respectable stuff, but at the same time, you got to learn to pitch with other things as well. So, but I mean, honestly, that's where I kind of dove into all the off speed, and my off speed wasn't that good when I first got to college, and I think a lot of guys probably aren't, just with arm speed and just trying to figure out how to use their body and stuff like that. But yeah, I mean, as my career kind of progressed at Wingate, and I was forced to kind of dabble into that off speed stuff and make sure I had a full arsenal to throw at guys. And I was throwing out of the bullpen, and then as a sophomore at Wingate, I was starting. This was pre-COVID, so I got about 6 or 7 games in before that happened. But it really challenged me just to kind of complete that arsenal and find some other pitches that worked. I mean, when I first got there, and I think even probably through my junior year, so we won the national championship my junior year at Wingate, and I was still just throwing fastball, curveball at the time. So my arsenal's completely changed even since then. Adding the gyro slider, and this is honestly a lot of stuff that with the pitching coach there and just myself and talking to some other teammates and stuff, I was kind of able to put together a full arsenal with the gyro slider, the changeup. But yeah, that slider, man, that's been my bread and butter since I was able to kind of develop that and polish it into a pitch that I could really use and I kind of can use in any count. So yeah, I got that going. So I think that was the kind of stuff, man, that just really made me have to use a full arsenal rather than just throw fastballs by people. And I do have a fastball that carries up in the zone, so I can get away with some mistakes if I throw it in the zone. It's not a sinker ball. It's got some pretty good metrics as far as carrying through. True efficient spin and stuff like that. So yeah, it kind of helps me to be able to throw those fastballs and get swings and misses. But honestly, just having that off speed that they have to respect, they know I can throw for strikes. It allows that fastball to play even better.
For sure. Now, I think for me, man, it really comes down to who somebody has the intangibles to be. Like I am curious for you, man. A gyro, why? What even makes you think, like, not makes you think, but like what made you think, like, hey, I want to add this to the arsenal? A lot of guys
Yep.
just curveball, changeup, big poppy style, curveball, changeup, fastball, that's it. For you, man, you wanted to add more. What really went into that? Was there anybody that was kind of saying, hey, I think you should try this, or are these things you're bringing to the table?
So my fastball kind of naturally cuts a little bit.
Mm.
I mean, maybe not all the time, but at least perceived cut. So when I throw good ones, it'll actually cut 2 or 3 inches. But so I kind of saw that as this is at Wingate. Now they've got all the bells and whistles and all that kind of stuff. But at the time, man, we didn't have TrackMan. We didn't have anything like that.
Right.
So we had a radar gun to tell you, it was all about spin rate and obviously velo. And that doesn't tell you that much, especially not in today's game with how advanced everything is. So I was like, well, I could kind of see that my ball carried well, and occasionally it would cut a little bit. So I was like, well, let's just see if I could throw a cutter.
Yeah.
So I was talking to the pitching coach and some other guys that were already throwing cutters, and I started throwing it, and I was snapping it off at the end way too much. I couldn't throw a first strike. I was bouncing every single time, and I'm like, that pitch is actually kind of nasty if I could just throw it like that. And at the time, I didn't know a bullet, gyro, slider, or anything. I didn't know that was a name for it. I was trying to throw a cutter. It kind of developed into a slider with just straight, vertical movement. And I was able to kind of get swings and misses on that. And I just kept going with it ever since then.
Yeah, for sure. No, and now we definitely understand why you're a Chicago Cub as well, because I feel like when you look at this Cubs rotation, especially like in the Jed Hoyer era, they love fastballs that cut more than they kind of just go straight through. And I think that's something, especially when you look at the Justin Steeles, the Shota Imanagas, Max Fried potentially, but we'll talk about that on another pod where, we're not going to get Brody in trouble. But, in all seriousness, man, I do think that is kind of the Cubs' way at this point in time is, we're looking at so many different pitches and, how guys are really going about their day to day, and every inch matters. However y'all take that, But, Yeah, I mean, I think it's going to be really interesting to see how you continue to grow and how you continue to develop with that, because it's definitely something that they pride themselves on. So the fact that you're kind of already at that point right now, I know earlier you said, "Hey, I'm a little older, this, and that." 24 years old, brother. We're the same age, also, so I'm not gonna let you do that. We're not gonna do that to each other, okay? You know, we're on our way. We're on our own journeys. But the 2024 season for you, man, you're coming off a complete season, pretty much 21 starts and 21 games. Obviously, it was very short lived, and there was a lot that went into that. Obviously, the knee was kind of bothering you the year prior. Now you're looking at the arm. Kind of take me through what the 2024 season was like for you, both mentally and physically, because 1.84 ERA doesn't look that bad. I think you really, when you were on the field, it really was the best version of you, and you made it all the way to Double A.
Yeah. So, I mean, going kind of rewind a little bit back to 2023 at the end of the year, I got my second to last start. We're in Fort Wayne. I'm playing for South Bend, and the infamous video on Twitter I saw a couple times now of the injury. It was super unfortunate. Something I never really imagined would happen, especially in that scenario. It's just kind of a freak injury. Obviously, I knew right out the bat something was wrong, so ended up having to get surgery on that. But timing wise, it wasn't the end of the world. I missed the last start of the season, and I worked my freaking butt off all season because I didn't want to miss any time. So I rehabbed as hard as I could. They told me it was going to be, I probably wouldn't be back throwing until the end of June, or back in games until the end of June. And I broke camp a week later than everybody else. So I'm proud of that. I was able to kind of get back, and I didn't want to miss any more time because nobody likes to be injured, and you're not really helping out the organization if you're sitting in rehab. So, I'm the kind of guy who wants to get out there. I'm not trying to sit the bench and watch everybody else have all the fun. I want to get out there and be part of it too. So yeah, that was unfortunate, man. But timing wise, it wasn't the end of the world. So I was able to rehab that, come back. Got the call to go out to Beloit to meet South Bend again. I think the second week of the season. So flew up there. It was only like 25 degrees, so that was a fun first outing. But yeah, so I pitched 3 times up South Bend. Got the call to go to Knoxville. Arm was feeling good, man. Everything was feeling fine. And the second inning, and I was pitching in Chattanooga. It was the only game I got to throw in. So second inning, kind of felt a little something in my lap. It was my first outing in Tennessee, man. I wasn't about to come out. So I told the training staff about it when I came in the dugout. And well, you need to come out. I'm like, no, absolutely not, man. I'm going back out. Like, I'll let you know if it hurts bad enough. At the time, I was warm enough, so I didn't really feel anything. But yeah, so I threw 4 innings. And I had a pretty good day, honestly, considering I was pitching on a partially torn lat. So I get back and I get the MRI and all that kind of stuff and get the bad news. And originally we kind of talked about 6 to 8 weeks of no throwing, and then kind of get back to it. At the time, I was kind of looking at the All-Star break, maybe a little bit after, to get back. I started progressing my throwing in June, and it just didn't really feel right. I didn't feel like it was something I wanted to push, and I'm willing to pitch through a lot of uncomfortable things and soreness, but I knew this wasn't one of those things. So I kind of had to take a step back, talk to the training staff, and we figured it was best for me just to kind of take it easy from there and just to rehab and kind of take it week by week and see how I was feeling. And we never really got to a point where we felt like we could build it up.
Yeah. So
that was frustrating for sure. Nobody wants to be in Arizona all year long while everybody else is out playing. Not being able to contribute is tough. I miss being in the dugout and stuff like that. And it pained me to be there all summer long, but it is what it is. I know it's part of the game. So
yeah, hey, I'll tell you, man, firsthand. Kyle Schwarber spent damn near the entire season in 2016 in Arizona. He comes back up for the World Series, bats 400. So, it's all about, like, kind of just the work you put into it, man. And not to cut you off, but, like, I see the work you're putting in every day. And I know that's not something where, you're posting every single day to prove, like, hey, this is what I'm doing, but, it doesn't go unnoticed. And I think it's really important to continue that mindset. But kind of to get into that, like, I myself, I tear my Achilles, and I'm like, man, I'm gonna get back. I'm gonna be a dog, man. You're gonna see me in the beer league softball games. I'm gonna be tearing it up on these 40-year-olds, like they won't even know. But slowly getting back, I think you're optimistic, but in the back of my head, I was like, nah, it's not right yet. Like something's
Yeah.
still like something's wrong. So during those 6 to 8 weeks when you're kind of, hey man, no throwing, just kind of kicking, laying back, with the fiance, whatever the case may be, um, did you kind of know in the back of your head like I still don't think I'm getting better, or were you kind of optimistic to the point to where it was like, I'm just gonna convince myself that 6 to 8 weeks we're gonna be good and I'm gonna get back out there?
Yeah, I mean, like with my knee rehab and stuff like that, like even if I didn't feel the best on in the first time I did something, I was optimistic I would feel better the next time around, and I always did. With the lat thing, it didn't really feel that way. Like I wanted it, obviously, I wanted it to feel better. I wanted to be back out there, and even when I started to throw again, I kind of told the guys and told the training staff that it wasn't feeling right. There was some pain with some everyday movements that really shouldn't have been there. So I kind of felt like it may be a matter of time. So once I ramped up enough, it started to creep back in. So that's when we shut it down. So yeah, I mean, it's hard to stay optimistic, no doubt about it. I mean, the mental struggle is way harder than the physical struggle when you're hurt. That's what people don't understand. And when you're in Arizona, not that Arizona is the worst place in the world, but you're not playing, you're not where you're supposed to be.
Right.
Um, so yeah, it's tough mentally to stay there, especially when you get unfortunate news and get set back and stuff like that, which I've never had to deal with before. With the knee, man, it was it was hard rehab, but it was a breeze. It went all to plan, and I was able to get back out there no problems. It never bothered me again. But with the lat, it's just kind of been something that's lingered around. But so yeah, we had to take a step back there in August and whatever, and so just kind of shut it down. And ever since then, I started ramping back up for throwing here recently, and I've been feeling good. Obviously, some aches and some pains and soreness of not having thrown in 5 months, which isn't the most fun to deal with. But as far as the lat goes, I've been feeling really good. So I'm optimistic we're going to be good to go from now on.
Sure, I love that, and I think kind of just remaining optimistic. Like I'm always gonna be there telling you everything's gonna be cool. Even if it's not, I'm always gonna be there telling you it's gonna be cool because everything's always gonna be all right. But I think what keeps especially athletes very like okay, everything's gonna be fine is it's not the same thing every single time. I think that's when you really start having conversations. Like, unfortunately, a good buddy of mine, obviously friend of the show, friend of the Cubs organization, Brendan Davis, gets DFA'd yesterday, and just those back injuries, man, they just continue to linger, and it's just really unfortunate to see the same thing continue to just happen every single time. I got the banner right in the back. Don't get me started on the Derrick Rose era. We want to talk about knee injuries. A 12-year-old Mike Hughes was in tears, brother, in tears. But it's to say it's the lat, then it's the knee. It's kind of like, okay, these are two separate things, two different entities, and we build on both of them, and hopefully we never have to deal with them ever again. But going into 2025, you kind of talk about that a little bit. You've had such a mental journey thus far in minor league baseball, just trying to, for lack of a better word, stay optimistic. It's a tough league to be in. It's a tough situation to be in. So, what are you looking forward to in 2025 to really just add to your bag? Obviously, just getting back to who you used to be is the priority. But then once you're there, okay, boom, how am I going to separate myself from everybody else? What do you really want to work on the most going into next spring?
Yeah, I spent a lot of time this offseason already just trying to get my body right. Not necessarily just my lat, but everything else that might be contributing to some extra sore muscles after I throw and stuff like that. Help me be able to recover next year. Um, yeah, I mean, there's nothing more important to me than having a healthy 2025 and pitching. Every single start I'm available for, I want to be out there. Like you said, like not to pound my own chest, but I know what I can do when I'm healthy, and the numbers say so too. So I'm just looking forward to having a healthy 2025, and I'm making sure I'm doing everything that I can to make sure that I'm out there. Obviously I want to make an impact for wherever I'm at, but the ultimate goal is Wrigley. And if I can have a good enough year and maybe get an opportunity to get up there, I'd love to do that.
Without a doubt, without a doubt, Brody, man, I appreciate you being here. Appreciate you sharing this with us, bro. I'm definitely excited to see how you continue to grow, how you continue to flourish. We'll see him at the friendly confines sometime very soon. But I know you didn't have anything else to promote. But is there anything, whether it's your Instagram handle or anything at all, that you wanted to say before we get out of here?
No, man, y'all can find me if you need me. Shoot me a follow.
Man, come on, bro. But man, we appreciate you guys tuning in. Appreciate you guys being here. If you want to already, like I said earlier, don't like promoting it, but give us a like, give us a follow if you haven't already. We got amazing interviews 24/7. Paul Skeen's interview just got some ticks, so that was cool. If you haven't checked that out already, it's about 2 years old, but for whatever reason, y'all just decided to see it. That's interesting to me. But no, man, in all seriousness, we appreciate you guys being here. Appreciate you guys tuning in. Until next time, I am Mike Hughes, sitting here with the man, the myth, the legend himself, Brody. Until then, peace.